Welcome back to the Counterfeit Emotions podcast. I am super excited for you to join us this week because I've got my good friend and amazing human, Colby Bauer, on with the show with us today. Colby, with his wife, Mackenzie, founded Thread Wallets, now Thread, and he's got an amazing story of what he's doing for good for kids, but also what he's doing to repair and become even closer with his mom. And I'm super excited to share these stories with you today. Colby, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Curtis. I appreciate it, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. And see, every time I see you, I just smile because
That's awesome.
Because what an incredible human you are.
Thanks, dude.
And it's so funny because before I ever knew you, I saw one of your ads on YouTube. And it was the one where you guys are in Hawaii and
Yeah.
you go surfing and your wallet gets destroyed. And then Mackenzie's like, well, let me try this. And creates this elastic wallet. And I was like, yes, finally, this is so great. Because I used to carry the 3-inch wallet around with me. And I'm like, oh, there's got to be a better solution than this. And I haven't looked back.
Good, as you shouldn't.
I am all about the thread. And then the fact that we got to meet and become friends and your amazing support over the years has been so incredible.
Yeah.
It's just a huge blessing. So,
thanks, man.
So give us just a small smidge about the story of how you got started with Thread and maybe that is the commercial. I don't know, but
yeah, with Thread. So I guess backing into just finding out that I loved entrepreneurship, that started when I was 14. I was on an airplane with my dad on the way back from a wakeboard camp and jamming on this logo for a shirt line that a wakeboard clothing line I was going to do with my friend. And, just as any 14-year-old would, like, this wasn't going to be a reality in my head. It was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he goes, no, let's do this. Let's actually do this.
Your dad said that.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that he did, because that sparked a passion and an understanding of how my own brain worked, because in school, I'm not the best student, actually, like, horrible student. Not that I didn't get good grades. That's a different story, but I could get good grades. It was more like, was I passionate about it? Was I into it? Was I actually learning? And the answers were no. So with business, though, when it was something I was creating and building and something that I was very passionate about, I was all on. I was full on. I was waking up early.
It was firing.
Oh, I was firing. So I learned that about myself. Fast forward, I did another venture through college. It's called Pick Play. It was an app. I was right during smartphones boom, and my buddies. I played soccer at BYU, so he and I played soccer together. He started an app called Scan, which was a QR code reader, ranked number 1 in the App Store, and then ended up selling it to Snapchat.
Was this Garrett?
Garrett G. Yeah. So he sold it in college for $54 million. So thinking of being a college student as like a millionaire is kind of crazy. And so I saw that and I was like, oh, that's something I could do, So I went down that road and I learned something valuable in that, which was, I think my motives were off. I think my approach to business was off in that I was swinging for the fences rather than just getting on base. Then also I learned that I didn't love tech, that industry. And so coming back to starting to brainstorm around consumer products, physical products, especially in the lifestyle of action sports, that's what I loved. Growing up, I'd played team sports, I played other like traditional sports, and then I also snowboarded, skateboarded, wakeboarded, and those were like the things I loved. I loved not just the sport, but the culture and the lifestyle around those. And so when I was creating or thinking about a new business, I thought it had to fit into some of these filters. And so then I moved out to Hawaii. I had this opportunity to play soccer at both BYU, and then BYU Hawaii came and said, hey, you could play here too, because the seasons were different. And
so you were doing double seasons?
I was doing double, which, I hit burnout pretty quick. But season after season after season, and just coming from Utah to Hawaii. And so when I got out there,
How many times did you jump
I
back
did
and forth
2 years. So I played 5 seasons back to back to back.
in 2 years?
It was, yeah, it
Oh,
was
wow.
too much. My feet were just like destroyed, dude.
Wow.
I was so ready to hang up the cleats. After college, I didn't play soccer for 5 years. I was like,
No kidding.
no more. Yeah.
You're like, way too
Dude,
much.
this is way too much soccer. So I moved out there, and growing up in Arizona, I always envied the California kids that had the ocean to surf.
Yeah.
And so when I got out there, I was like, oh, this is my chance. I get to surf. So I went on Facebook Marketplace. I bought the cheapest board I could find, which was a mistake. It was super waterlogged, and I didn't even have a leash. I got out there, just got pounded by waves in the North Shore. It sucked.
And then your board was gone.
Dude, I was chasing my board more than half the time. I was like, I'm the biggest kook out here. But in all that, I remember like having my wallet, and I got to the beach, and I'm like, where do you put your wallet? Like, I think I walked, so I was like, well, I can't, like, am I going to hide it in the sand or something? And then I was like, I'll just put it in my board shorts. So I put it in my board shorts, and then I'm out there surfing, and then I come in, and it's gone. So I lost it to the ocean.
Oh, it
It
was
was gone. Yeah.
nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere to be seen. Which, with a brain like mine, very ADHD, it wasn't the first time I had lost my wallet, so I knew I wasn't even bummed. I was just like, oh, there goes another one.
You're just used to
I
it.
just need the routine. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I like go online, and I search out men's wallets on Google, and I'm like scrolling through, and I'm just noticing, similar to what you were saying, like these 3-inch thick, like bifolds and trifolds that have been relevant since the 80s and haven't innovated since.
Yeah.
And so my entrepreneurial brain starts thinking, well, maybe there's a disruption in this category. I ended up not buying anything, so that was kind of a sign to me that like nothing out there was, for me. And then fast forward, I kind of forgot about it, and then all my credit cards and my IDs came in. So I'm walking through the grocery store in Laie on Oahu. And I'm just kind of fidgeting through with my cards, and I'm like, I just need something to wrap around my cards to keep these tight.
At the grocery store right by the theater?
Yeah, it's called Foodland.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And great creative name, by the way, Foodland.
Foodland.
Like, whoever thought of that one was just like, how about? So then I'm like, okay, I need something to wrap around these cards so I don't lose them. And I see the rubber bands around the asparagus and the broccoli and stuff. So I swiped one of those, and I just wrapped it around my cards, and I was like, that's it. That's my new wallet. And very, very like minimalist. That the lifestyle in Hawaii was like, there's no materialism, which I just absolutely love.
Yeah.
Like they figured something out over there.
Yeah.
Just the minimalist approach, and I loved it. So I kept it. Then I moved back to Utah for like my second to last semester, and I took this class called crowdfunding, and I'm supposed to come up with a product idea to launch on Kickstarter. And I'm going through my list of ideas and thinking through like, what would be the easiest thing I could do for a school project, And this wallet idea, basically this rubber band that I was using, I was like, I'll just create a better rubber band and tack that with also there's a brand called Stance. There's a sock company, and they were just pretty new, I think a few years old. And I went into a surf shop in Huntington. It's called Jack's. And Jack's is like the influencer surf, like retail store. It's like what every other surf retail store would look to be like, okay, what are they carrying? And when you first walk into Jack's, this standing display, huge, is Stance. So obviously they're doing well. Obviously they have momentum, and I'm thinking through this, and I'm looking at it. I'm just like, this is so beautiful. Like exactly what they did with socks, with the art and the expression and all this is what I would love to do in any category, really. But then it started to funnel down to the wallet category, and I thought, oh wow, wallets is actually like really ripe for disruption.
Yeah.
And so I tacked this concept of minimalism, rubber band wallet with expression and art and the things that I love in the lane of action sports. And there you have Thread, the concept was born. So I'm prototyping in my apartment, and I don't have anything. I just have like hot glue. Like I have a hot glue gun and some staple guns, and it's just like trying to prototype this thing for school.
I can totally see this in your apartment, it's like a craft project going on, and
just like I remember like just a grocery bag, just like dumped out my elastic and some leather that I got from Tandy's Leathers, like scrap leather. I'm just like trying to like figure out how to like do this all and come up with some like really crappy prototypes. But so then I'm ready to like do a photo shoot to launch my Kickstarter. And so I had to find a sewing machine, and I found this girl. She knew how to sew. She was teaching me how to sew. So I got a few nice prototypes down. She goes, you know what you need is you need a key ring for women. They, you know, like I hate carrying around a purse, and I would love to have this wallet if it had something I could just like a lanyard, or I could attach my gym pass or my keys to, and I could just, it's quick, you know, on the go. And I just thought, you know, for me, this was definitely a guy, like front pocket wallet. Girls already kind of had like the massive clutches. They had like their behavior of purses. And I just like
the
didn't
Louis
want
Vuitton and all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just figured it was just a guy wallet. And so, but I was just like, sure, let's put a key ring on. And so we put one on, and I ended up using that one because I wanted to test to see if I liked that function. And I did. I remember texting her, and I was like, I love this. Like, this is a brilliant idea. So fast forward, we fall in love, and that's my wife, Mackenzie. And we created these things. We launched on Kickstarter, did okay on Kickstarter, and then we thought, let's just give this a little extra push to see if we have some legs with it. And so we made, there's 1,000 wallets, and we packed it in this large suitcase and moved out to Hawaii after we got married. And we tried selling them at the surf shops and things. And it was almost the end of the semester, and we had sold like only just a few, you know. And I was like, we can't just travel back with these. Let's just try to like liquidate these,
just offload
them, like sell them for cheap at the farmer's market. And so we did. And that's when Mackenzie and I both started to realize there was something about these wallets. Even though we were selling them cheap, the dialogue around them that we were hearing people like, oh, this one's so cute. Like they were using them. They were seeing the function without much education. And then that was when I was at this fork in the road. I thought, do I go get this corporate job, you know, the kind of the traditional way, which I didn't love, but I thought maybe for security, that would be a good place to start. My dad was a financial advisor, so I could go work at his firm. And then I thought, okay, well, there's a possibility I could play professional soccer, but I really was, like I told you, I was so burnt out. I was like, I'll just maybe go down that road a little bit. And then it was like, okay, do we start our own thing? And that was what we were really wanting to do.
Did you try out for
Yeah, I did.
Soccer?
Yeah, I actually was training with the Monarchs, which is the feeder team into the Real Salt Lake. And had some offers overseas, but I just, again, it was like, didn't feel right. And I just was done. And so what I was really excited about was starting a business. And little did I know I would be doing that with my wife. And so we said, let's just give it 6 months, and we'll move in with Mackenzie said, we'll move in with my mom and dad in Provo, and we'll just see if we can make this thing work. And I was like, I'm all in if you're all in. And she's like, let's do it. So I was like, whoa, that's
got to feel so good to have her say that same thing. Just like,
dude,
we're doing this. And
I was so nervous. Yeah. I mean, it does take you're overcoming a lot of fears, and you're pretty naive, so you don't really know what to fear. But at that time, yeah, I think that we had to just take the leap, and I'm grateful that she was willing to look past the traditional way of life, because that would have prevented us from really taking the leap. I think you get on, like, once you get into the corporate world, the golden handcuffs, it's harder to leave. And then you start, you buy a home, and then you have some liability, and then you have kids and you have more liability. It's like the best time for us was to start young and just like had nothing, and her parents were awesome. We actually produced all of the wallets. We made all the wallets for the first 3 years. So
you too,
all day, every day.
The two of you were you sewing as well?
I sewed a little bit, yeah, but mostly that was her thing. I did. There's a part of the process that you take paper. It's called sublimation paper. You print it out. You have to cut the paper, and then you take the elastic and you cut the elastic, and then you take the paper and the elastic and you heat press it for a minute, and then you take that elastic.
Transfers.
Yep, it transfers, and then I took that. I literally was a dirt basement, and then I take it up this little wooden ladder, and she would be sewing, and then she'd sew all these, and there was literally thread all over our house. So the irony was like, thread was like literally taking over our life in every
You were
capacity.
swimming through thread every day.
Exactly. and then and then we would just turn on a Netflix show at night and just package them all up and ship them out the next day, and that was our life for 3 years. And there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of communication errors between us, a lot of fear,
Between you and Mackenzie? Or?
Yeah, oh yeah. Like
Yeah.
just, I mean, try to start a marriage alone and there's enough, and then try to start a business and a marriage and combine that, and it's like, dang, and we're not like, we're passionate people. So, and we both have anxiety. So it was like a lot to figure out. And yeah, it was hard.
Could we dig into that for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Like specifically with anxiety.
Yeah.
And how did you, like you said, starting a business by itself is crazy stressful. Starting a marriage, it also has inherent stresses. How did you Mackenzie navigate that? How did you get through the anxiety, through the fear, and how did you find connection?
Yeah, great question. That's a deep one, because I don't know if I handled it well. If you're looking for an answer of how to deal with it or how to handle it, I don't know if I have that answer.
It's okay if you didn't handle it well. Like, you handled it and you get to today.
So I think there are areas we did bad and there are areas we did great and we figured out. But in all honesty, I went into marriage with an unhealthy expectation, thinking that there would be no arguments, thinking that I don't think I ever had an argument with any other human. I mean, and I had a lot of
even through your sports
trauma
years.
And even sports,
soccer years,
soccer teammates, like just kept the peace. I think I liked the gray area. I liked the middle ground. I liked being Switzerland. I didn't like the pendulum swing. I had too much uncertainty in my life growing up, with my mom being an alcoholic at the time, and just a lot going on as a child. I starved for stability, and so anywhere I could create stability was what I did. And so creating conflict or contention or arguments, just like I avoided at all costs. So within marriage, I didn't expect to be arguing. I didn't think that would be a thing, and to find myself arguing back, and it was a letdown for me. It was like,
that you felt you're letting yourself down.
Totally. I'm like, man, this is not me. I've never been this, And so then I'm like, okay, is it me? Because if I've went my whole life without arguing, and then the only change is that I'm married to Mackenzie, is it her? So then the unhealthy part is I start to put too much blame on her and not take extreme ownership of what I could have changed to eat. And I mean, so many things I could have changed and have. But I was so naive to that. And so it put this pressure of even divorce as a topic in my head, of like, whoa, that like, my parents got divorced when I was 14. So I went through watching that, and that sucked. I kind of promised to myself that would never happen. So
divorce is so hard.
Yeah, it sucks. So with all that, like trying to figure out, okay, well, those thoughts, wrestling the like the blame game constantly, like criticizing her and even myself, and in a very unhealthy way. So those are the areas I went bad, And then when I started to take a step back and realize, whoa, no, like this is not abnormal to have arguments. It's two humans that are imperfect, that have been independent and living their own lives, now trying to bring it all together.
Blend those two.
It's like, of course, it would be abnormal to have zero arguments and always have peace, right? Like that would be, abnormal. And so it was an unhealthy expectation that I had. And so to realize that's normal put me at ease. And then I could approach it in a little bit different of a lens and say, okay, well then what needs to be fixed? As a problem solver, what areas can I personally control? And then how can we speak openly and candid with each other in a very respectful way to then open the door to solving the problem together, not just blaming and making more of a mess.
Yeah.
So that's when we started to really make progress. And then we realized that we both were very anxious people, and so we started seeing some clinical help too, like therapist, and we got on some medicine, and that was like really where it started to shift drastically.
Your marriage or the business or your
Both,
life or
everything actually, yeah.
all
So
of it?
the anxiety, I'd say that was like a root point of a lot of the mess.
Mm,
Was the anxiety triggered the way that we treated each other, the way that we
mm,
perceived the world, the way that we approached business, our marriage, et cetera, et cetera. And so by calming the anxiety with medicine, because medicine for us was a key, and it's not always, I'm not like a beating the drum of medicine is cure all. No,
yeah.
there's areas. In fact, I have weeded off the medicine. I'm not on it anymore. But where my brain or my body can't produce as much serotonin as it needs, like maybe my body needed that, So I that helped immediately. Like within the 3 days that the doctor said, or he said it could take up to 7 days. Within 3 days, my whole, like, I was carrying all this stress in my gut. I hadn't had a stomach ache since, like, it
Mm.
just because of the medicine.
And so that kind of the medicine gave you a reboot. It gave you the ability to get the serotonin your body needed
Yes.
so that you could kind of hit
Level.
the reset button. And you said now you're not on it.
Yep.
And so you're able to get that reset without
I guess. I don't know.
having
Maybe
to.
it's just a different phase of my life. Maybe I can manage it better. I don't know what it is. I just got off like 2 months ago, and I'm doing really good. But so when we could calm the root of it, then everything that was above it could just bloom.
Mm,
It wasn't just tangled roots. It was like, okay, we're off. We're being productive now.
I love that. I love that. And I love something you said about blame and shame because misery is the counterfeit of pain. And pain is inevitable, kind of like you said. Once I realized that pain is going to happen, then I didn't have to go to the blame and shame. And blame and shame are the two ingredients of misery.
Mm,
That if you want misery in your life, dive into blame and shame.
hmm.
That's where you're going to
Makes a
find
lot of
it.
sense.
And it counterfeits pain because pain is inevitable. It has to happen, but misery is a choice.
Yeah.
Misery is what we add to the pain
Yeah. That
to
makes a lot of
say
sense.
that, hey, there's this pain. I don't want to deal with it. I don't, in how you shared your story, you didn't believe it to start. You're like, wait, this isn't like me. This isn't like,
Totally.
how am I even in this situation?
Yeah.
And being able to step away from the blame and the shame,
Yeah.
that combination that makes misery, allows you to respect the pain, respect and
Yeah.
honor the pain.
Choose the path of not misery, but yeah, see the pain as a tool. See
Yeah.
the pain as a aid to get better. I think about this all the time, like with skateboarding or anything, like pain is actually so helpful to identify the problem, right? Like if we didn't have pain, we just probably, like, I could have a broken leg right now if I didn't feel it, then like that's going to do so much more damage.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that amazing? Did you ever think you would say those words that pain is actually really helpful?
oh, it's so helpful. Yeah.
And when you were growing up, like, what was your concept of
Of
pain when
pain?
you
Oh,
were?
such a brilliant question. Yeah, I think, what is my concept of pain as a kid? I think that I was dealt a interesting hand with pain, both emotional, mental, and some physical trials. But my dad taught me pretty early. I think he grew up in an era of like rub some dirt in it. He was a cowboy in Heber, rode bareback and bull riding in the
Oh wow,
rodeo, like
yeah, he was the real
so
deal.
he's felt pain,
He was the man's man.
yeah. And he whenever I would, like, even if it's like stub my toe or something, he would just say, like, feel the pain, like recognize it, let it come. You see it coming, and just know that it's going to stop. That for 10 seconds, like the 10-second trick where you stub your toe, and if I was to just like immediately react rather than just like, okay, just like grit through the pain and know that there's gonna be an aid, there's gonna be a relief in a minute,
Hmm.
then I can bear it a little bit better, knowing that like if I didn't know that the pain was gonna end, then then that's probably where you find yourself in a really deep dark mindset. And whether
Yep.
it's like as a kid, you just like, you don't have that context, and so then you just like bawl and you cry, right? And
Yeah.
so everything from stubbing your toe all the way up to my parents getting divorced, time heals. There's like just a natural healing and relief that comes over time, and knowing that even though this is the phase of my pain right now, that I can I can bear it, knowing that at the end the soil will be soft, that I can take root and it'll bloom. These concepts of pain just softening soil in the emotional sense or the mental sense, or these phases of life can just kind of prep you for the next phase of life. All of that was given to me. Those tools were given to me. So I'm grateful for that. And then, on the pain level, just the light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that pain can relieve, can be relieved over just time, just like letting yourself be okay with it, grieve in a necessary way, in a healthy way. And that's important too. If you don't grieve, if you don't feel the pain, if you resist it and you just hide it and you throw it away, and you then that's where it can really come back with vengeance. So feeling pain is actually also important too.
Yeah. I love that your dad said that when, stub your toe, whatever it is, give it 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And the research shows that most emotions last 90 seconds and then they're done. And at the end of the 90 seconds is the refractory period, which is the period where you get to choose, am I going to turn this emotion into a mood, or am I going to surrender to this emotion and let this emotion go?
Yeah.
And so literally 90 seconds. And when I work with people that feel anxiety or have these things, we do breathing exercises, a very specific breathing exercise for 90 seconds. And
is it box breathing, or what do you do?
It's a version of box breathing. Andrew Huberman talks about, so this is the method, is you breathe in through your nose, and then at the end of it, breathe in really hard.
Like a sip?
So you go, and try it. It's amazing. So, and at the end, breathe in, and then you let it out slowly. And then you do it again.
Yeah, that's good.
And what happens when you breathe in, it's fascinating, because have you ever done a sleep study? So a sleep study, the first time I ever did a sleep study, like I think I'm borderline narcoleptic. Is I can fall asleep just instantly. It's crazy. Patty and I will go to bed, and like, no joke, 30 seconds I'll be snoring.
Crazy. It's awesome. It's like the off button, dude.
It is. It's just like, okay, time to sleep. I'm gone. Sweet. And so I did a sleep study, and I said, I'll probably be asleep in 30 seconds. And, the next morning I wake up and I'm like, how did it go? How fast did I fall asleep? And they said, you went into sleep in about 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, I can't be right. I was for sure asleep faster than that. And I said, well, what are the metrics? And one of the metrics of falling asleep is that you start breathing through your nose.
Oh, okay.
And so, so they actually measure that, and they do the whole, the brain scan, they do all the stuff, the breathing, and that final, when you breathe in, it actually activates the same receptors in your brain that it's time to be calm, like you're going to sleep. And so you do this breathing, you do the, breathe in and then breathe out slowly. And when you breathe out slowly, that signals to your body, the physical anatomical part of your body that says, I'm okay because I can breathe out slower than I breathed in.
Interesting.
And so
what a crazy science.
It changes your body from sympathetic into the parasympathetic, from fight or flight into the rest and digest.
Yeah. We got like a secret weapon right at our fingertips, like just breathing.
Period. It is.
Breathing is a weapon.
Isn't that amazing?
In a good way. Yeah.
Like I back several years ago, I did a tour with Dr. Daniel Amen. He's the leading fMRI scientist in the world, like literally the top guy in looking at brains. And he said, I can get anyone out of a full-blown panic attack in 3 minutes or less.
No way.
And I'm like, I've seen panic attacks. Like, it goes on and on and on. He's like, 3 minutes or less. And I'm like, how do you do that? And he said, it's just breathing. Wow, I just have them breathe in a very specific way. And one of the keys is that you breathe out longer than you breathe in.
Yeah. Okay.
because that
That's cool.
signals to your brain that I'm okay enough
Yeah. Yeah.
that I can hold my air.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and so yeah, you breathe in
Interesting. The
and
power of
then
our brains, for better or worse,
yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah. So anytime anybody's feeling anxiety, I just walk them through that.
Right.
And it's true. 3 minutes or less, I can get somebody out of a full blown panic
Yeah.
attack.
So these tools, these little skills, I mean, don't you wish we had these as kids?
Yeah.
I mean, I was dealt a good hand in some regard, and then obviously hard hand in others, but I was able to put these to practice, these tools, something as subtle as my dad saying just the 10-second trick, like it'll go
That's
in 10 seconds and I count to 10. Sure enough, it's gone,
that's so cool that your dad had that wisdom to
right?
give to you.
Yeah. And there's others like this that I'm learning as an adult, like couldn't we just make sure we download all the kids' minds that they have these skills throughout before life really comes at them,
Yeah.
That's what I'm really passionate about it now. Like, so Thread has been my, call it like the foundation for my career, and it's taught me so much, and I'm still loving it, and just we're cranking away and it's great. And then we've also created this nonprofit, Carry On, which is where we focus on helping kids develop these skills, the resilient skills to carry on, because life, it is inevitable that they will be faced with stresses
Yeah.
and hard times. So how do we prep those kids' minds and do it way before it really starts to weigh in on them? And so Carry On, we teach these skills through skateboarding is the vehicle in which currently, and eventually we'll get into other disciplines, but right now we built a skate park, and we teach these kids breathing exercises and hero body and posture and
Mm,
power words and these skills that
that's awesome.
help them drop into a skate ramp. But more importantly, do they help them when they lose their job in the future, or if they have a bad relationship breakup, or if they, maybe they're trying to jump off a diving board and they're scared, or it's little to big things, and tapping into
Mm,
these skills can make the difference between massive blowups and choosing misery, or embracing the pain and reframing the pain to help and to teach and to prep them for the next phase of life, which can lead to a flourishing life. That it really can just be these simple, tiny little skills that can make the biggest difference. They're micro adjustments. And that's what we teach in skateboarding. The difference between a really good ollie and a bad ollie is literally a millimeter change in your foot, position.
millimeter.
It's just micro changes, micro adjustments. Oh, slide it just this angle, pop just this way on this part of the tail. They're micro adjustments, but when you make those micro adjustments all together, that's when it works. That's when you can ollie, that's when you can kickflip. And it's just figuring out, I call it a shallow rock bottom. It's failure is feedback. It also is kind of another term where, okay, if the ollie didn't work that time, why? So answer the question why. Oh, maybe try. Let's do a little testing here. Let's put your foot this way this time. Okay, did it work that? No. Okay, what happened to the board? Okay, let's do. And we're teaching them micro adjustments that will eventually lead to the optimal placement, the optimal slide, the optimal speed, whatever it is, the micro adjustments that make it work. And that's life. That's just like all we're just doing. We're just trying to make the micro adjustments that make the macro difference, So
Yeah.
all of these, failure, dropping in and falling, that's not a failure. That's feedback. That's knowing, okay, I need to try this next time. And so we train our kids when they drop in. If they fall throughout their class, everyone else claps.
The clap.
Yeah, it's like we're trained, and or hit their board. It's kind of the way that like
Yeah, yeah,
skaters
yeah.
clap is like you hit your board, and it's like, awesome, you're trying. You just tried something that was really hard, and you got out of your comfort zone, and you, even though you failed, that was a win. You just overcame your fear, and now we'll work towards the landing. But like that was a win, and so we want to applaud that.
So you celebrate the feedback of what we would traditionally call failure.
Right.
I love that because it makes me think of Winston Churchill. He said that success is not final and failure is not fatal.
Oh, such a powerful quote. Yeah.
And meaning that it's just a step.
Yeah.
It's just one more step in whatever process you're
Right.
going through, whatever journey you
And I
have
like
to
the
go through.
success the success is not final too. That part, right? Is that what it
Yeah.
was?
Yeah.
It's like the refinement of that skill or the success is, and the mastery of it.
Yeah.
That's a lifelong pursuit. It's
It
like it's
never
never
ends.
ends.
It
Yeah,
never ends.
progression is eternal. It's like evergreen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
And that's one of the beauties of life, is that success is not final. Failure is not fatal, that we get to find joy in the journey.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's the journey
Yeah,
that
that's where it's
is
fun. Yeah,
important.
totally. And if you're not enjoying the journey, then you're probably doing it wrong. I think. Like if the goal is to find joy in the journey, or in the sport or the mastery, whatever, the art, the music, whatever you're into, and you're not finding the joy, then I think you should reevaluate, right? Like
Yeah.
that should be the cue on, like, well, then what am I doing? What do I need to do differently then, mentally or physically, whatever it is, to enjoy it?
Yeah.
And not to say that every single part of mastering something is going to be just full of joy,
Yeah.
no, there's pain. We just talked about it, but it like zooming out, if you're not really enjoying it, then I think that reframing, your approach to it, maybe figuring out the intention on why you're even doing it,
Yeah.
could maybe help you to find
Yeah.
the joy,
Yeah. I had Jen Drummond on, and I don't know if you've
I
met
don't.
Jen. She's Guinness Book of World Record holder. She was the first woman to climb the 7 second summits, meaning the first summits is the highest mountain on each continent.
Mm-hmm.
The second summits is the second highest mountain,
Oh.
which is actually harder
Mm.
than the first. So she trained for
Interesting.
K2 by climbing Everest. Everest was her training
Yeah,
ground.
that's so funny, dude.
and I've only done one of the highest peaks. I did Kilimanjaro.
Oh, nice.
And it was really interesting, because what you're saying applies so much, because on summit day we had to go from 15,000 feet up to almost 20. So about 4,000 to 5,000 feet of elevation in
Yeah.
2 miles. We're
Okay.
talking
Yeah.
switchbacks inside switchbacks, like super steep. And to put it in perspective, there's nowhere in the continental United States you can place your feet that is 15,000 feet.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
nowhere
Yeah, just
that's that high. And that's where we're starting. And then we're going up to about the cruising altitude of a jet, of a intercontinental
Oh,
airplane.
no way.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's how high we were getting. And it was crazy. Hardest thing I've ever done. And I've done Ironman in Kona. I've done the
Oh,
Boston.
wow.
Yeah, I qualified for Boston. Like all these things. Nothing compares
Really?
to how hard this was. And as we were going up the mountain, we were getting near the top. And our main guide, Abdul, he said, spend as little time on the summit as possible. And growing up, it was always about the summit.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit the summit, and it's going to be glorious, and it's going to be,
Yeah.
this amazing experience. And that's the end. Like that's
Yeah.
where all, the movie cuts, and,
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
And he's like, spend as little time as possible on the summit. And I'm like, okay. So I love taking pictures and videos, and I hiked a guitar all the way to the top of the mountain.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Do you know the Close guys, the Close guitars?
No.
They build these carbon fiber guitars in Provo. They're awesome. They're travel guitars. You can break them apart. And so I hiked this guitar to the top of the mountain. I sat at the sign that said, the summit of Kilimanjaro, and I tried to play a song that I had prepped all for this thing. And I had this guy filming me. Little did I know there was like 30, 40 mile an hour winds that shot across the peak.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's the funniest thing, because
can't even
I'm
hear
over
it.
there and I'm like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all you can hear is
Yeah.
but it was the
It's
reason.
like a perfect, like, what you think it looked like versus what it is.
Yeah.
Like, those are the best little memes, I think.
It would have made the best meme
Yeah.
ever. But it was so telling, because once I got to the summit, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, we got so high, we could start to see the curvature of the earth. Like,
What?
yeah,
So
it wasn't crazy,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it wasn't a straight line anymore. Like
crazy.
on the ground down
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
it's a straight line. Up there, you can actually see it start to
Whoa.
bend.
That's cool.
And And so I'm thinking this big picture of success in my mind. We made it and all this stuff. And he's like, spend as little time as possible because that's where the least error is. And I was like, wait, in success, in what we classify as success, you need to spend as little time as possible there because that's where the least error is.
Yeah.
And you need to keep hiking.
Yeah.
And it was, it was that realization like, oh, it's the journey.
Yeah. The journey is
It's not the summit. And Jen said something similar, like you get to the top and you get down as fast as you can.
yeah.
And because it's about the journey. It's not about the summit.
Yeah. Wow. What a powerful message, dude. That's yeah, I think I'm just hearing you out. I'm learning kind of sometimes the joy doesn't come till later too. Like if, I think on your way up, you could probably find joy and you're looking at, just for whatever reason you like hiking. But I think sometimes to the point of maybe the joy doesn't really settle in, the full amount of joy doesn't settle in until after. And it's because you did it. You did it. I'm just thinking of like the accomplishment is what brings the joy. So it's always good to remember that even though it is really difficult, in times like that or hike Kilimanjaro mentally,
Yeah.
and you did it, like to not forget, like you just did a huge task. Like you just that you should be celebrating those moments, even though you don't feel at the top of your game. The fact that you're surviving, the fact that you're keep pressing forward, like that should be celebrated in your own mind, and
Yeah.
if you can rally a community that sees that and does that for you, then even better. But if you can be your own cheerleader at times, that's a cheat code,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, that was just something I was thinking as you were talking. But
I love that. I love that because it is important to celebrate the wins
yeah,
and have that as part of the joy.
yeah,
Make that joyful.
yeah, yeah,
I love that. And what you said is so true. No one felt fantastic on the peak of
yeah. You're like
Kilimanjaro.
this. Why are we doing this?
It
But
was-
after, maybe it took till now where you're like, my body's back to normal. It's like, whoa, I did that. And that confidence that you probably have now that you were able to do those hard things, like that compounds. It moves to the next thing.
yeah.
Now you can go into the next challenge knowing, oh, I did that. I am strong mentally, physically. I can do this.
Yeah.
I know I can do this. So you can take on bigger challenges, and it just compounds to the next thing.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
I love that you're teaching kids about carry on, about how to be resilient, about how to celebrate a fall.
Yeah.
It's so great because there's a psychologist, Dr. Paul T.P. Wong out of Canada. He actually passed away a few years ago. He did some revolutionary research on what he called positive psychology 2.0.
Mm.
So I love positive psychology, but he added a really critical component to it. There's a well-being scale. And on the well-being scale, it tells you your spiritual, your emotional well-being. And he had people take that first. Then he had people take what he called the existential gratitude scale.
Mm.
And the reason he called it existential is because he asked some really key questions, one of which was, are you grateful for your pain?
Mm-hmm.
Can you
Wow.
actually express gratitude for your pain?
Yeah.
And he matched the people that said yes to, am I grateful for my pain? Which there weren't many. It was actually very few. He matched those people to the results of the well-being scale.
Mm-hmm.
And he found they were in a completely different stratosphere. They were in a completely separate category all to themselves because they could appreciate, honor, and even be grateful for the pain.
Wow. Yeah, I'm just like thinking through applying that to my own life. You have your success track is never just A to B. It's always like A, B, Z, D, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like all over the map, right?
Yeah.
And pain points are critical, especially within business, like thinking through starting a business. How you start is never how you finish. Like it's maybe roughly around the same, but you're constantly pivoting, and you don't know. I think the best entrepreneurs know when and where to pivot to, but they wouldn't know when and where if they weren't observant to the pain points.
Mm.
And they have to be hypersensitive to feeling the pain and then knowing, okay, that's not the track, let's go this way, and there's a talk by Elder Holland. He talks about when he was a kid, he goes down as the leader of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Him and his dad go camping, and they go down all the way clear into the woods, and then on their way back they're kind of getting lost and taking turns, and they're like, oh man, is this the right way, so they come to this fork and they go, let's pray about this one. So they pray, and they both felt that they should go right, so they went right, and they start driving down this path, and sure enough, 60 yards down the road, it's a dead end. And the Elder Holland was the little boy at this time, and he goes, Dad, why would God tell us to go down this path if it was just a dead end? And this is such a valuable question to ask, because, and the answer is even more valuable, is that God will take us down the paths that help us find the right answer the quickest. So if God was to say, let's go down the left path, and it's just ongoing, well, they would never know with confidence if that was the right path or not. But knowing God knew that there was a dead end there, he put him down that path intentionally to say, hey, this is not the right path, and now you know it. You absolutely know that this is not the right path. So now, therefore, you know that this path is the right path, and you can go down with full confidence.
Yeah.
And that's life. I mean, that's business, that's relationships, that's self-mastery, self-discovery. It's just constantly going down dead ends and finding and being sensitive to the fact that this is a dead end. And sometimes the people who aren't sensitive keep going down the dead end path, thinking it's the right path. And they just keep on going down, whether it's a relationship, a business idea. I mean, you name it. This is constant. And so how can we tap into the sensitivity of these pain points to say, oh, that was the wrong path? How can we have shallow rock bottoms? Meaning, how can we know for certainty that's a dark one? I don't need to go all the way down to know that this is the bad. So I'm going to bounce back up. I'm going to have a shallow rock bottom, boom, bounce. And that's it. Like that, I fall victim of going down the wrong path for too long because of, I'm stoked on the idea, and I have this vision for what it can be, or, whatever it is. There's always justifications, but if we're not sensitive to the pain, then we can't be grateful for, and we don't really know why the pain is there. We can't really be grateful for it. We can't understand. But the people who are grateful, to your point on the study, grateful for the pain, can go, oh, what is the pain trying to tell me here then?
Yes.
And then where do I need to go?
Yeah.
And how do I pivot to get to the final destination?
And I love that, because then when you can transition from that victim mentality of why is this happening to me,
yeah,
into the victor mentality of why is this happening for me?
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden the pain becomes a helper.
Yeah, it's a guide.
The pain,
it's a Sherpa all the way up Kilimanjaro. Yeah,
it is the Sherpa.
Yeah.
It's the one that says, I'm going to take you to where you need to go. Hold on, it's going to hurt. It's probably going to hurt a lot, but I'm going to be the one guiding you to that place. And for that, we can be grateful.
We should be grateful, yeah.
For that, we can say, thank you so much. I didn't even know I needed to go here.
Yeah.
But because of you, I found this amazing place. Yeah. That's so beautiful.
That's awesome.
And so bringing this back to some pain you felt as a 14-year-old kid, and having your parents divorce, having a mom that was an alcoholic, you've had to navigate a lot of emotional pain there.
Yeah.
And we've got the Kleenexes. So every guest has used it so far, so feel free. But that hurts. Divorce naturally has so much pain in it, and it hurts. And you were 14 and probably so confused what was going on, why this was happening. Could you share that experience?
Yeah. I'm the youngest of four, so I have three older sisters, and I noticed from an early age that there were always things my mom, whether, I don't know. So I was pretty naive, but there were signs that she was not healthy, and while I didn't really understand the full weight of the problem of her addiction, she was getting in car accidents. My parents were always arguing. And so I always felt like there was kind of just like something about to break, always felt like that. And then,
kind of just on the razor's edge at all times.
yeah, yeah. And so I was scary, like if my mom was driving ever, that was scary, cause like I didn't know if she was under the influence um, and then I remember like falling asleep going hunting with my dad, and then him and his friend were talking, and I was like 10, and he's like, yeah, I'm not really in love with Cindy anymore, my mom, and like I'm definitely going to get divorced at some point. I just got to wait till Colby's old enough. And he's thinking I'm sleeping in the back, and I'm hearing all this, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So it's kind of like I knew, but like inside I'm thinking, can I save it? Can I save it? So I'm trying to like work on both sides with my dad and with my mom. And it's like, but then I'm seeing the reasons why my dad is like, is kind of has fallen out of love or has kind of given up. I mean, he gave it all. I mean, he really tried. Not to say that like both of them had their issues, but nonetheless, age 14 rolls around, and yeah, I get that news. That divorce is one thing, to watch family break up in the Mormon culture. I grew up Mormon, and in that world, you don't hear that often, or you don't, or
Yeah.
you tend to not think that even happens. As a kid, that's just, oh, my parents were Mormon. We don't get they don't get divorced. That doesn't
in our
happen,
church,
right? But so there was more weight behind that of like, whoa, my family's falling apart. It's just like, and I'm the last one yet at home. I had my older sister just right above me, still home, but it was kind of at this tipping point of, at 14, you're trying to figure out who you are. I just got into high school, and there's other things that were going on with like soccer, trying to figure out like what I was into and where I fit within like the society and within friend groups and things like that. And so then I had to move, and I moved to Mesa outside of So we lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, and moved to Mesa. So I had to like kind of restart, for better or worse, but it was really tricky because now my dad, after he broke the news, he said, I need you to be the man of the house. Your mom needs you, and Katrina needs you, my older sister. And so you need to be the man of the house. And so
did you stay with your mom?
I stay with my mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's when your mom moved.
Yeah. So I moved with my mom and my sister Katrina to Mesa. And so then I'm feeling this pressure, and I'm like, I'm not even strong enough to take care of my own self. How can I take care of a household? I'm feeling all this weight.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Wow.
But trying to just hold it together as like churchgoers. I'm like the only one going to church on Sundays, and
as a 14-year-old, you would go by yourself.
Totally. Yeah. And
that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. And like leaders at the church would like make comments. I remember one in particular would like make comments about how I dressed or like my hairstyle. And I'm like, dude, if only you knew. Like the fact that I'm here is things like that.
Yeah.
And he didn't know. But so I had to find not only like who I was, but like my own faith. And so I built a really strong relationship with God at this time. I found out that I started finding this friend group that just didn't feel right. And that was the shallow rock bottom. That was a dead end. Okay, these guys are this is not my crew. So I had to bail, and I had to find another. And so I prayed, please help me find someone like a friend that is good for me. And that prayer was like, I remember kneeling, like I was on my bedside, and it was like this overwhelming feeling of like chills down my back all the way up to my head and then on my shoulder, and I verbalized this. It was the first time I'd ever felt anything like this. And I said, I don't see you, but I feel you. Like, thank you. And just felt this big hug, like, hey, I got you. That week I met my best friend, Stuart, who just put me on the right path.
Gonna get me the Kleenexes.
And that was one of those like dead ends, like I had to, luckily had some sensitivity towards that, and God to help direct me to the right group. And that put me on the trajectory of going on a mission for our church at 18, and then going to BYU and playing soccer. And I found the right friend group and the right team. I switched teams, found the right friend group there, and it just like it all worked out. And so pain, yes, absolutely. But what has resulted in all of this is an understanding of how my own brain works, my relationship with God, my relationship with my family, the importance of friends, and those that you choose to be around on a regular basis can really, really impact you for better or worse. And I had to learn all of that and more. But it helped me put me onto this trajectory. The pain didn't go away. My mom was always a roller coaster with her addiction after I moved out. I mean, she was on opioids and methadone for my entire time in Mesa in high school,
Mm.
which wasn't alcohol, but it was still it's an isolation drug that she just kind of found. She'd just stay in her art room all day, every day. And so I felt like at this time I had no rules. I had zero rules, and so I had to figure out what boundaries for myself. And sometimes you have to
Yeah.
go too far to know how far you can go. And but ultimately you're finding your own boundaries, and you're creating your own rules for your own safety and for your own happiness and peace. And you're figuring it out. And
Yeah.
that skill at a young age, being able to choose for myself and learn and adapt and find that sensitivity, I needed. That was my personality type. I just needed that freedom to figure it all out, and I'm grateful I did, because I think it put me on a good path for the rest of my life, knowing that I have those skills and sensitivities of what feels right, what doesn't feel right, where I can find peace, where I can find joy, where I can find love, all these emotions that I know you write about, and the sensitivity to when they're counterfeit emotions, and
Mm.
when they're lust, and when they show up as shame, or when they feel, and so you start to tap into what do you call that, like maybe just a tuning, if you will, of like of your own emotions.
Yeah.
But that doesn't just come overnight. That comes with pain and feeling the shame, and then turning away from it, and then feeling the love, and all this, right?
Yeah.
You're constantly just and I'm still figuring it out, but I think that served me really well throughout my
And
childhood.
and the fact that you turned to God, like when you shared that story, thank you for sharing that story. I felt it. You were talking about how you physically felt God's presence as he was there with you to help you find
Yeah.
Stuart, to help you
Yeah.
find that friend, to say, "Hey God, I see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here with me."
Yeah.
That's so
uh,
beautiful. And I think that's a lot of where we can tap into that authentic, that those emotions that lead us to that. One of there's 4 criteria to know if you're in an authentic or a counterfeit emotion, and the first of the 4 criteria is connection.
yeah.
And if an emotion says that I want to connect first with myself, the true self, not the body, not the soccer player, not the surfer, not but the true self inside, not the one with accomplishments or failures, but the true self, then secondly, connect with others. Third is to connect with God.
Hmm.
Does this emotion connect me with God?
Yeah.
And then fourth is to connect with the truth. And if it meets those criteria, you're in the
Yeah.
authentic. You know that's where I'm being guided.
Yeah. I love that.
And so I love that you were willing to get on your knees as a 14-year-old kid without the support of your mom and sister. Like that says a whole lot. That's amazing that you were able to go to that place. And I'm sure there were some emotions with your mom disappearing into the art room
Oh yeah.
every
Oh
day.
yeah. Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure that was
Oh, so
crazy
it's
hard.
doc. That was like the worst, yeah, worst time, and just like, feeling, if I was looking selfishly, just at like, oh man, I don't have my mom here for me right now.
Yeah.
But it was more like, man, that sucks that she's trying to escape, and she's not she's not in a good spot, and I feel for her. And it was more sympathetic pain that was like,
Mm,
oh, dude. And it's like, you can't really, I mean, what is a 14-year-old going to say about marriage and how to deal with a divorce? Like, there's nothing that I don't think I could have said. I wasn't mature enough to say anything that would have helped her other than just like be there and say, hey, I'm here,
yeah.
period. That's
Yeah.
it. So
So most people in that type of situation, they would have turned to anger. They would have turned to, isolating them, exiling them from their life. The, you know, I saw you and your mom at the Sapria Gala,
yeah,
and and I could tell that there is an active, effort to really rebuild,
yeah.
to form that relationship. How did you get from 14-year-old Colby to the Colby of today?
Yeah. You know, I think my own personality type, I'm an enthusiast, which means I definitely try to stay away from anything that's boring or too deep. And that served me actually really well in that era of my life at 14 of just um I filled my life with skateboarding and soccer and messing around with friends, and just like I didn't let the weight of that part of reality weigh me down, and I complemented or supplemented it with all these other things that help lift me up and give me the fuel that I needed to keep pushing. And so whether that's healthy or not, that's what it got me through. And now, fast forward, so in 2020, life just crashed on my family and the world as we know it.
Yeah.
COVID just had a way of wrecking a lot of people, and mental health was at its like all-time high, the mental health issues.
Yeah, the Surgeon General in 2023 said we are experiencing an epidemic of loneliness,
Yeah.
and it was from the COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. And my mom was no different. She was definitely lonely. She's never been the type to have like a friend group, and her job was mundane and it wasn't creative, but she's a creative mind. So she just would go and worked at a warehouse and just nothing fulfilling throughout the entire day. And then would go to, and then just drink. And she started relapsing during this time. And she was trying to monitor it and make sure she could still make work and all this. And then it just spun out of control, like to the nth degree. Like, I had seen my mom's relapses. I've seen binge cycles before. This was like, you couldn't, like, I couldn't comprehend how a human could want to drink this much and just throw away her life. Like, the moment she woke up, pass out drunk, pass out drunk. Like, where do I get alcohol? Jump in neighbors' houses, break in, steal from stores, constantly, and then getting kicked out of my sister's homes, if they let her stay there. My grandma finally like hosted her, and then my grandma was strong for a long time, but I said, you can't, like, there's a point, and I know when if it's gonna come, you let me know, and I will come pick her up and I'll take her. And I know that this is hard, but I'm not taking her to my house. I'm taking her to the homeless shelter. And
Mm,
so I think for my grandma, that was really hard and really hard. And I had to put that pressure on, because there really were no other options. It wasn't out of like manipulation. It was purely out of like, grandma, there's nowhere else she can go at this point. So this is the reality. And so my grandma held on for so long, and she battled her own mental stuff, but finally I got that call, and it was like, yeah, get her out. And I went and I picked her up and just covered her in her own feces and throw up, and um hair a mess. Her skin is tinted yellow, and she passed out on the street, so her face is all black and blue. Had a broken rib, like, just so much. Like, this human that I call mom was like, just like the lowest of lows. And I'm taking her to the streets of Salt Lake where it's cold, and she has to figure out how to get a bed at the homeless shelter. Like, that's what my life has turned to, where I'm already dealing with a newborn at home and trying to keep my business alive and my marriage. And like, this is the last thing that I need, you know? So trying to hold it all together. Uh, I, for a few weeks, just kept taking her to the homeless shelter. I'd get calls from the, police officers or whatever. You need to come pick her up. She's found stealing or whatever, passed out drunk or whatever. And that was like my anxiety was so out of control. I had 4 panic attacks in a week where I just could not hold it together. And um, there was a point where that's when I started getting some clinical attention, saw a therapist, and started figuring out my own sanity. And that, I think, God was the root of Carry On and the nonprofit we've started. But with my mom, there was a point where I was picking her up to take her to the homeless shelter, and this was the day before that I was supposed to go pick her up, and I drove up to the temple. There's a Mormon temple in Provo, Utah, and I it was closed because of COVID.
Was okay. This was before the
Yeah,
reconstruction.
yeah. But I parked in the parking lot, and it was 1 a.m, and the lights were still on the temple, and I just felt like that was kind of my symbol of my connection to God. So I drove there, and I just started talking. And it wasn't like a normal prayer where you just are like kind of rambling, you know, and you just kind of like don't leave any space for any communication back. You just kind of just keep going. This one was like a dialogue, like uh
Kind of like the conversation we're having.
yeah, like, hey, this is where I'm at. Like, do you have any ideas? And then it was like, response. Okay, cool. I like that idea. What if I tried this? Yeah, I think you could do that. You know, like that. And that connection, it breeded an idea to I subscribe to this idea with addicts that there's really nothing you can do, and you just have to let go and let God. And I subscribed to that for a long time, and I think that's true. But letting God is letting God help you know how to help, you know? Like, how does God work? Through people, you know? So letting God sometimes does mean let go completely. And sometimes that means asking God what you can do. And for me, that lesson was learned where he said to me, you know, I've given you these experiences. I've given you your talents, your mind, your entrepreneurial mind to think differently, to disrupt, to be innovative. Let's use that. Okay, let's think differently. So what hasn't worked? What have we tried? Okay, well, we tried rehab 8 times. That hasn't worked.
8
Okay.
times you picked her up.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I didn't. My dad, you know, throughout the years, 30 plus years, that doesn't work for my mom. Okay, well, then what does work? We don't know. So what have we tried? Checking off the list. Okay, let's try something new. What's your mom like? Okay, what's her personality like? What are her interests? Well, she's very creative, and she loves writing. She loves painting. Why don't we just feed that for a minute? Okay. So we ended up, I called my mom, I called my sisters, and I said, hey, tomorrow I'm taking off work. Let's all just come to my house, and we're just going to do some art. We're just going to do some craft and just have a really good time together. And so my mom was still like kind of trying to sober up, but we spent the whole day. This was in November, and we wrote a children's story. And it was
As a family.
as a family, and we sat there and we illustrated and we wrote it, and it was, and just God would have it, there was a story of hope, where the symbolism of Christmas. And my mom always spent hours and hours, countless hours, on the Christmas tree. It was like over, you know. And so it was CC's Magical Christmas Tree was the name of this book, and it was and then it ended up with the symbolism of, and what really is the magic of the Christmas tree is that the star at the top points to Christ, and at the bottom of the star is the gifts, and that's the gift of Christ and the gospel. And so we wrote this beautiful story all together. And that whole day, my mom, she had some medicine. She said, I hadn't taken any medicine for pain, and I haven't really even felt any pain today. And I'm like, wow. And I was like, so what's next, Mom? What do you want to do? She's like, I mean, if I could do stuff like this every day, I would. You know, I'm like, well, what if we figure this out? And so I started to ideate. I'm like, well, what if we started a children's book company where we could tell your stories and these valuable lessons to parents and kids, throughout the world. You know, you've learned so much. Can we do this? And she's like, I would love that, but I don't even know where to start. And I was like, I'll help you. I promise you I'll help you, but you need to get sober. And she said, okay. And so she checked herself into rehab the next morning, was there for 4 months, and she's been sober ever since. She's almost 5 years to this day.
Wow.
And we're working on a children's magazine. So we launch every quarter. We launch these kids magazines. We're launching next on Kickstarter next month. I read the story. She just finished it last night, and it is like, I mean, talk about tears, dude. You're gonna need a whole box of tissues. Like it's like
Good.
these powerful lessons in a very entertaining, fun way for kids, but it gets to the real raw stuff, the stuff that, like, I think really can change and have impact on people's minds and hearts. So that's what we're all about right now, and that's part of Carry On. So that's part of Carry On Studio. I've formulated Carry On as the nonprofit. Carry On Studio is this the media arm to Carry On, all pushing towards helping the rising generation build resilience. And so we do that through storytelling. And eventually I'd love to see this on TV. You know, this would be like a dream come true if we could see this on like Netflix or on the big screen or something. Anyway, yeah, so that's where we're at. And yeah, to answer your question, to get through, you know, to see my mom as a human enough to, and a human meaning she has weaknesses. You know, as a parent, it's, you know, kid to parent, sometimes it's hard to realize that your parents are humans.
Yeah.
It's like they're just trying to deal with life. They're just kids trying to raise kids, you know, like we're all just kids just trying to figure it out. And so I learned that pretty early on. And I also saw my mom is an angel, you know, and when she's sober, it's like, it's amazing who she is. And I just love seeing that. And so it's not hard to want to work with her. It's not hard to want to like renew that or I guess revive that relationship and keep that alive. And that was never hard because I just know who she is, and it's not the alcohol. When she's not alcohol, she's not herself. It's not the drug. It's not all that. And when she's just purely herself, she is an angel. So I love getting to work with her.
Wow. So it sounds like the way you were able to see past the drugs, the addictive behavior, the destructive behavior was to see her how God sees her, which it sounds like is an angel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
And the fact that you could have abandoned her. You could have said, you know what, Mom, you did this for my whole life. This hurt me so bad. You're out. I'm pushing you out. But you didn't. Instead, you sat by the temple at 1 a.m. and had a conversation with God and asked God how you could help her in the way she needed to be helped. That's not a common thing. What do you think was at the heart of you being able to look past all of that and just realize that she is human, but she's also an angel? What do you think was at the heart of that?
I just had so many good memories with her as someone who was sober and kind and loving. And when I started to understand at a deeper level why she turned to alcohol in the first place and why she continues to turn to alcohol, when I could answer that, I started to understand her more as a human. And getting context into people's actions, it's not easy, and that's why most people don't do it, you know, because you have to ask a lot of questions. You got to dive deep. But when you figure out why they believe what they believe or why they do what they do, whether that's religion or politics or socially or whatever, when you can finally understand the why behind it, it starts to make a lot more sense. You start to paint the canvas with a little bit finer brushstrokes, and it starts to appear as a human, not a general, you know, wide kind of like broad brushstrokes of a human that has feelings, a human that has trauma, a human that's struggling and figuring things out and has natural instincts, that has strengths and weaknesses, has a unique personality. And when you start to paint with those finer brushstrokes, you see them as God sees them. And God sees every fine brushstroke. He doesn't see us as black, white, Democratic, Republican. He doesn't see us in those. He sees us as humans. And so when I could find the smaller brush and start painting that with my mom and see, oh, this started when she was a kid. Her dad left her when she was a kid. She had to be the rock for her family. Her brother ended up committing suicide, died by suicide. And her mom was drinking and trying to escape after work and was a single mom. And the church culture wasn't really welcoming to that family, and then she's a beautiful person, my mom. She's physically very pretty. And so then she finds her value, her self-worth in her beauty, her looks. And so then she holds that so tight, and she's, has high tendencies to be vain and to find value in her relationships with guys. And so then what happens when those start to delve off? And then the generation that she was born in, they didn't know about, the education around mental health. That just wasn't, there's no vernacular around this. There's no, so how do you blame someone when all that happens, and then her brother dies by suicide, and my mom tries to open up to my dad, and my dad's just got this cowboy grit in him. You're still crying about that, kind of mentality. Well, now my mom doesn't feel like she can open up. She can't really grieve properly. So what does she do? She escapes. She picks up the alcohol that my grandma left in the fridge, a bottle of wine that when she visited, she left in the fridge, and my mom tried it. Unfortunately, it worked, and it worked really well. Unfortunately, and that sparked a 30-year addiction. So how can you blame a human that was suffering and going through all of that, and it just happened to be, and now she's triggered with alcoholism. Her body just naturally is just and she wants to escape, and she's holding this resentment, she's holding trauma, she's holding all this. Her brain can't even comprehend, her body can't even comprehend. How do you blame a human for that? You can't. And so as I get older, as I'm learning about these things, and I'm starting to see my mom as a human, I can look past the broad brushstrokes. I can see the fine brushstrokes, and I can see her as a human. I can treat her as a human, and I'm grateful for that. That I'm able to see her now as who she is, and she's incredible.
I'm grateful for that too. I'm so grateful you were able to share your story. I feel like we need like 2 more hours. Maybe we'll have to do a follow-up episode. But like what you said is so key. I have a firm belief that you cannot hate a child of God. It's impossible to hate a child of God. You can hate an object, whether that object has the label of addict or the label of, Democrat or Republican or whatever labels. Yeah, you can hate an object. I have a firm belief you cannot hate a child of God. And when you see someone with those fine brushstrokes of how God painted them, then you can see who they really are.
Yeah.
And that's impossible to hate.
Yeah.
You can only love that person. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I love the thread story, but even more, I love the story of who Colby is and how much you love your mom and the good you're doing in the world. There's one emotion that can't be counterfeited, and that's peace. How do you find peace?
I think it's the core behavior and habit that I've kept up, even though I've been on a faith journey trying to figure out. I've always had a solid relationship with God, more on like the church, the religion part of things, even though that's sometimes confusing, or if business is hard, or if marriage is hard, or raising kids, or going through whatever trials. I always can come back to prayer and my relationship with God as something that is so stable. I'm so confident that He's there, that He's listening, and that He's responding. And I could see his hand in my life more when I pray. Because when I can pray about specifics, I see the specifics. And so I find a lot of peace in my car drive home from work, just talking to God, or just throughout the day. It doesn't always have to be a formal kneel down at the bedside. In fact, most of the time it's not. But subtle things like outside in the summer night, eating dinner with my family, and my kids are playing on the tramp, and I just look up, kind of just go, "Thank you, this is so beautiful." Like those little things, those little moments with God that I can speak to Him and just express gratitude or anything like that.
Thanks, Colby.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel that peace when you talk about it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your journey. If people want to buy the best wallet in the world, where do they go?
Yeah, threadwallets.com.
Threadwallets.com. If they want to get their kids into an amazing program with Carry On, where do they go for that?
Carryon.org.
Okay.
Sign them up. It's age 3 all the way to 73. So
3 to 73
adult classes. Yeah.
Sweet. Can come do the half pipe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so fun.
Right on. That's so great. And we'll put all the links in the description.
Cool.
But thank you so much.
Thank you. I needed this. This is great.
I'm so grateful for your heart. I'm so grateful to be able to call you friend.
Likewise.
And for the good that you do in the world. It seems like I have a handful of people that every time I see them, I feel their energy. And you're one of those that cool. Like every time I see you, I just feel it just immediately. And so thank you for bringing that presence with you.
Absolutely.
And being that kind of person.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us this week and joining the journey to live your most authentic life through authenticity and to find the one emotion that can't be counterfeited, and that's peace. I hope this week that you can take from this episode and do what Colby's done, of living a life of forgiveness, of love, of turning to God to find guidance and find that peace. Until next week.